a Fox Urgent. Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Banderas. Ferguson, Missouri on edge tonight after another night of looting and unrest following the shooting of an unarmed teenager 1 week ago. Missouri's Governor Jay Nixon signing an executive order declaring a state of emergency and implementing a curfew. In a tense news conference this afternoon, Governor Nixon said if there is to be justice, then there must be peace first.
Again, this is not to silence the people of Ferguson or this region or others, but to contain those who are drowning out the voice of the people with their actions. We will not allow a handful of looters to endanger the rest of this community.
That curfew goes into effect 6 hours from now, midnight Central Time, and Mike Tobin is live tonight in Ferguson. And Mike, what's the mood there right now?
Well, the mood is anything but discouraged, Julie. As you look around here, you can hear people playing drums. This, by the way, is the burned-out Hulk of the Quick Trip store. Really ground zero for all of the demonstrations. You've got the people out here doing their thing. Their numbers have increased more and more as this process went on. So Ron Johnson, Captain Ron Johnson with the state police, is going to have a challenge with his multi-jurisdictional force. The deadline is approaching to where he's got to enforce this curfew, but he wants to do it without another repeat of the scene that we have seen almost every night, like we saw last night. The heavy-handed use of force by the police that has polarized this community and drawn them so much criticism. At the same time, they're criticized for not using enough force to stop the looters.
Last night, there was police presence, but there was looting for 2 hours straight. Now, wait a minute. Store owners in their stores with their own firearms. Will that end? Will we have police guarding our homes and businesses?
What we're doing now is not who we are. It's not who we are.
And Captain Johnson explained why they came out with force last night. He said that several officers were trapped in a parking lot. So they came back, drove the crowd back, got their officers out, and then pulled away from the crowd, left them to their own devices. Then all of the looting took place. So here we are now, hours away from the deadline. Some people have made it clear they're going to defy the deadline. Captain Johnson told me if they do that, arrests will be made if they need to be, but he's hoping people will respect the deadline. We'll see how the night goes.
Here's what I find interesting, Mike. You know, when you spoke earlier with the owner of that meat store that got looted not once but twice, and he complained about how there just is not enough police presence there. So now they've got this curfew. So now they're saying they're going to commit arrests. They're supposed to be protecting these business owners from being looted. And now the state of emergency. Do they have sufficient police force there to keep the peace come curfew time?
Well, I think the problem is that the police have been showing up in too large of numbers, according to these demonstrators out here anyway, and using too much force to drive them back. So the difficulty for Captain Johnson, his multi-jurisdictional force, will be how to walk that tightrope, to show enough force to get the people off the street when the deadline approaches, but still not arrive fueling the criticism that the police are out here to suppress these people. They're out here to abuse this community.
So the police are out there trying to control the crowds. What about the business owners? Because the looting has been going on now for days, and the residents there are furious and frustrated, especially the business owners like the one you spoke with today. Is there any protection there for them? Or are they going to be protecting their own businesses because the police are so busy trying to get these people under control?
Well, what we saw last night, particularly with Sam's Meat Market, he and some of his employees and friends showed up with weapons, and they surrounded their store, and that's what stopped the looting at that location. That's not the kind of scene you want to see repeated on an American street. So the police, again, are going to have to walk that tightrope. They've got to protect the businesses. They've got a right to have a business out here. People have a right to demonstrate. That's the reason the state of emergency went into effect and the curfew went into effect. So how they're going to enforce this without further polarizing the community is going to be quite a challenge.
We're going to be watching it from here as you're there reporting live on the ground. And you've been talking to residents. What have they been telling you?
A lot of what we're hearing from the residents out here, as far as the looting, the troublemakers, that's a small percentage of the people. They say most of the people that you see out here at the demonstrations have a point. They want to be heard. They believe that the looters are opportunists, jumping on mob mentality to try to get what they want out of that. These are people who are trying to express a point about an injustice they feel has been done, and a small percentage of people are causing the problem, Julie.
All right, Mike Tobin, thank you so much, and we'll check in with you a little later.